Asia, and hello the world. Welcome to the Education Talk. I, Lailianita as the host, compound this inspiring session called the Education Corner.
What does getting deep now? What does getting deep now?
Today's topic is about the implementation of differentiated instruction in the classroom, specifically by involving process and product differentiation. Some of you might have heard of it. Process and product differentiation are steps teachers use to create learning process that accommodates students' diverse needs, interests, and learning styles. Not only vary the learning activities, but students also need a platform for self-demonstration that suits their learning style to provide challenges, to show their learning development and potential. According to the English teacher's point of view, process and product differentiation is expected to have a significant impact on the learning process and the learning outcomes. And the expected impacts of process and product differentiation include increasing student engagement and motivation, helping students develop deeper understanding, creating an inclusive learning environment, promoting collaborative and social learning, and last, improving achievement of learning objectives. Alright, for the next session, with the help of our special sources, we will talk about the implementation of differentiated instruction through process and product differentiation using project-based learning. First, we would like to invite Mr. Galang, an instructional designer who is going to tell us about the advantage of using project-based learning method in classroom. Alright, Mr. Galang, would you mind to inform us why is project-based learning is important in our education?
Thank you, Ms. Lail. Okay, I will explain the benefit of using project-based learning in differentiated instruction. According to Wulandari et al. 2019, differentiated instruction become more meaningful when using a constructivism teaching model, one of which is project-based learning. Project-based learning is learning model that combines various teaching ideas and is supported by comprehensive theories. It involves students in cooperative and ongoing investigation and is based on constructivism philosophy. This means that knowledge is constructed through student activity, which include both skill and scientific attitudes, so that they can build their understanding and make it meaningful through real-life experience. According to Hamida and Chitra 2021, in their journal titled The Effectiveness of Project-Based Learning on Student Interest and Learning Outcomes, they found that learning using a project-based learning model improves student critical and creative thinking skills. The project-based learning model encourages students to be more active in learning, while the teacher acts as a facilitator. As a facilitator, the teacher focuses on preparation before the learning process, such as preparing material, teaching tools, and other necessary resources to make the learning effective and on target.
Thank you, Mr. Galang. We have learned so much about the benefits of project-based learning. Next, we would like to proceed to the main topic about the implementation of differentiated instruction by differentiating the process and product using project-based learning. The sources, the English teachers state that the grouping system for the project is based on the students' learning modalities, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, and the diagnostic test had been conducted in the beginning of the semester. Thus, without further ado, we would like to invite Miss Yuliana, Miss Frysca, and Miss Novitasari to join with us. Alright, Miss Yuliana, Miss Frysca, and Miss Novitasari, could you hear me? Could you join with us? Alright, perfect. Alright, first let us hear Miss Yuliana's idea about the process and product differentiation for the visual learners.
Okay, thank you, Miss Lail. So here are the English learning activities that apply process differentiation and product differentiation based on visual learning styles with the topic of procedure text, how to make a kite using project-based learning or PGBI. Okay, we will start from the process differentiation. So our topic is about procedure text, how to make a kite. With the learning model project-based learning or PGBL and the learning objectives is students are able to understand and create procedural text on how to make kites in English with a learning process that is adapted to a visual learning style. So the learning steps is the first one introduction, more or less 10 minutes. The teacher introduced the topic how to make a kite by showing a picture of a kite along with a short video showing the process of making a kite. And then learners can see visualization of the materials used, example paper, bamboo, thread, glue, as well as the step-by-step process. And then the teacher explains the structure of the procedure text, detail, materials, steps, using infographic that show the stages of the procedure visually. Second process is group work and planning, more or less 15 minutes. So students are divided into small groups. Each group will work together to make a kite based on the procedural text they will create. So the process differentiation for visual learners are the first one. Visual learners are given flowchart or concept maps that help them visualize the materials and step of making a kite. And then a teacher provides sample images for each step in making a kite that will be used by visual student as a reference in the learning process. And then each step of the procedure is explained with illustration that support visual understanding. And then the third, learning process, how to make a kite, more or less 30 minutes. So students start making kites according to the procedural text they made in groups. So process differentiation for visual learners are given pictures of the step they need to follow. Each step is illustrated, such as pictures of how to measure and cut bamboo, how to glue paper, and how to tie thread. And then visual learners can also be given visual worksheet containing picture clips of each step that they need to sequence themselves following the correct procedure. And then the teacher can also provide short video tutorials that show how to make a kite step by step so that visual learners can see each process firsthand and then imitate it. And then the next step is documenting the process, more or less 20 minutes. After making a kite, students are asked to document the process in the form of a procedural text. And then process differentiation for visual learners are visual learners can use the pictures they draw or snapshot of the kite making process to help them write procedural text, and then they can organize the procedural steps visually with the help of a flow diagram or mind map first before compiling the final text. And then the teacher can monitor visual student to create storyboard of each step they take, complete with pictures and short description. And then the fifth step is presentation, more or less 20 minutes. After finishing, students present the kites they have made and explain the process step in the form of procedural text that they have written. Visual learners can use poster containing picture or diagram of the step in making a kite to support their presentation. They can also create infographic that show the stages of a procedure with illustration to clarify each steps. And then the last step is reflection and feedback, more or less 15 minutes. The teacher provides feedback on the clarity and sequence of the step, display and provide appreciation for the visual creativity demonstrated by visual students. And the students are also encouraged to reflect on their experiences in making kites and how visualization helped them understand the process. Okay, the second one is product differentiation. For example, I take the same topic, learning models and learning objectives as process differentiation. The difference is in the differentiating the final product session. Students are given the opportunity to choose a final product that suits their learning style. Visual learners can choose to present their understanding of the procedure text in various visual forms. So the final product option for students are the first one, poster. Student can create a poster that illustrates the step of making a guide with clear images and short text, and then the poster will contain the material used as well as each step in the form of large illustration with easy to understand information. And then the second is infographic. Student can create an infographic that explains the step of making a guide using icons, colors, and symbols. And then the infographic will display a process flow diagram from material preparation to the final result with minimal text to explain the stages briefly and clearly. And then procedural comics. Alternatively, visual learners can create a comic strip that show each step of making a guide in the form of sequential image panels. Each panel depicts one step of the creation, complete with illustration and a short text in English to explain the step. And then the last is video tutorial. Visual learners can create video tutorials that capture the guide making process in action. And then the videos will feature English narration to explain each step of the process with a focus on the visual aspect of the process they undertake.
Thank you, Miss Yuli, for joining our session. Next, we would like to hear Miss Frysca's plan for the process and product differentiation for the kinesthetic learners.
Okay, thank you, Miss Lail. I will explain the examples of English learning activities that apply differentiation, process, and product based on kinesthetic learning styles with the topic of procedure text. The objective of this learning, students are able to understand and create procedure text on how to make a guide in English with a learning process that is adapted to the kinesthetic learning styles. For the product in this lesson, students make a video tutorial containing a demonstration of making a kite. Next are the steps in learning activities. The first is introduction. Here the teachers give basic questions to students and provide introduction to material related to procedure text such as definition, objective, and structures. Then the second, group work and planning. The teacher divides students into groups for discussion. Then the teacher gives an example of making a kite through video or demonstrate directly. Then students observe the tools and material and also the step for making a kite. And the next step is learning process. Students discuss and arrange the step for making a kite. Then students write down the tools, material, and the step on the LKPD. Then students discuss with their group to divide tasks or roles in demonstrating the step for making a kite. For example, making the kite frame and kite body. Next, documenting the process. Here, the student practice each step according to the planned distribution of tasks. Then presentation. Each group demonstrates how to make a kite in front of the class, and students explain each step accompanied by a demonstration according to the assigned task or role. And the last step is reflection and feedback. The teachers provide feedback regarding the clarity and sequence of the step presented, as well as giving appreciation for students' creativity. And students reflect on their experiences in making kites. Next is product. For the product, students make demonstrate video how to make kite and they have practice. Video tutorial demonstration can be uploaded to YouTube channel or other platform as a result of this learning. And for assessment can be taken from participation in group discussion, presentation and ability to explain step clearly, and creativity in creating video project.
Thank you, Ms. Frysca, for giving us a new insight about the product and process differentiation for the kinesthetic learners. Now, let's pay attention to Ms. Novita's lesson design for the process and product differentiation for the auditory learners. Alright, Ms. Novita, could you explain to us an example of process and product differentiation for the auditory learners?
Thank you, Ms. Lyle. Now, we're going to talk about differentiating process and product for auditory learners. First, we have differentiating process for auditory learners. Suppose our topic is procedure text about how to make a kite. Our learning objective is that the students are able to compose a procedure text about how to make a kite, and we use project-based learning as our learning model. The activities include introduction, drilling and practicing dialogue, the learning process, learning how to make a kite, documentation, presentation, and reflection and feedback. In the introduction, the teacher introduces the topic, which is how to make a kite, using questions such as, do you ever fly a kite? Does anyone know how to make a kite? And so on, to check the background knowledge of the students. After that, the teacher will give out the worksheets containing the jumbled instructions about how to make a kite and ask the students to rearrange the jumbled instructions into the right steps while watching a short video related to the worksheets. Next, the teacher explains the material about procedure text, including its generic structures and its language features. This verbal explanation from the teacher and the audio from the video will help the auditory learners to understand the materials more easily. And this activity will take about 10 minutes. The next activity is drilling and practicing dialogue. For the drilling, the teacher will give out worksheets containing action, verbs, conjunction, and nouns. The students will repeat after the teacher and learn how to pronounce the vocabularies correctly. For practicing dialogue, other worksheets are involved. This time, the students will be asked to fill in the blank in the dialogue and practice the dialogue in pairs. Those activities will take about 15 minutes. Next is learning how to make the kite. The students are divided into small groups. They will discuss how to make a kite, make a procedure text, and make documentation for the final assignment. To learn how to make a kite, the teacher will play a video and ask the students to imitate the steps shown in the video, while using the ingredients that have been prepared in the classroom. Next, each group will compose a procedure text after they have learned to make the kite. The audio from the video and the discussion among the group members in this activity will help the auditory learners understand the material better. This activity will take about 20 minutes. The next activity is documentation. After learning the ingredients needed and the steps in making a kite, each group is asked to film the process of making the kite. The video will contain an explanation and a demonstration of making a kite. This activity will take about 20 minutes. Next is the presentation of the group's videos in front of the class. This activity will take about 20 minutes. Finally, the last activity is feedback and reflection. The teacher will give feedback regarding the clarity of the steps and give appreciation to the students' works. The lesson will be closed by reflection about the students' experience and reviewing the newly learned vocabularies. This activity will take about 5 minutes. Next, the second point from me will be about the example of differentiating product for auditory learners. We know that the product deals with the final project or assignment. For auditory learners, we can use tutorial video, podcast, and role-play video. They are free to choose what they want to make. Within the tutorial video, the group will record the explanation and demonstration of how to make a kite step by step according to their procedure text. For the podcast, the group will create their own scenario and relate it to the process of making a kite. Within the role play video, the members of the group will play some characters they create by themselves. They interact with each other and will be talking about how to make a kite. The assessment of the final product will be about the clarity of the steps in making a kite, the creativity of the scenario and the script, and the grammar and pronunciation accuracy. I think that's all from me. Back to you, Miss Lyle.
Such a great opportunity to have you here, Miss Navita. And we are most grateful to all wonderful sources for joining us today. And finally, we could conclude that process and product differentiation are important in education because they help the students learn in ways that suits their learning styles and interests, and enables them to meet learning objectives. Well, it's time to wrap up the talk. Join us tomorrow on the next Education Talk episode. I'm your host, Lailianita. Good day.